Today we're going to talk about how do you keep attention. Yesterday we talked about how do you grab attention by the balls. Today we're going to talk about how do you squeeze as much out of that attention as possible to actually generate more and more and more sales. So let's talk about that today in terms of actually keeping attention. Let's see who's hopping on real quick. If you guys master the ability to capture, keep, and convert the attention, you'll naturally generate more sales in everything you do. Whether you're doing a podcast content, whether you're doing cold emailing to get on stages, doesn't matter what you do, you will always generate more sales. What's up, James? All right, so let's see who else is hopping on real quick. Like I said, today we're going to talk about how do you keep attention. Yesterday it was how do you grab attention. And today I want to talk about, I call it the godfather of keeping attention. It's the godfather of capturing and keeping attention. And so if you master this one thing, it can be summed up in one word, to be honest. But if you master the godfather of attention, then you'll naturally just generate more sales in everything you do. You'll naturally be really great at copywriting. You'll be great at presenting. You'll just be great at selling in general. And I call it the godfather of attention. It works 100% of the time. There is never a time it does not work. It just hijacks your brain. It's one of those things where it's like if you punch someone in the gut, they react. They can't not react to it, especially if you punch them hard. If you're freaking Mike Tyson, you punch them hard, right? So that's what I want to talk about. How do you actually keep the attention? You want to think in terms of what's different captures our attention and what's similar tends to keep our attention. This is why when you hear about storytelling and all that, the best storytellers are the ones where they make it feel like, oh, me too, right? So it's like, oh, wow, you felt like that? Oh, me too, right? And so what's different will capture our attention, but in order to keep that attention, it has to make us feel like, oh, we're the same, we're one and the same. And so we're going to go over all this in terms of actually keeping the attention. All right, so what's up, everybody? Cool. So we got everybody hopping on. Let's just get going real quick. Obviously, and I didn't actually include this until literally about a couple minutes ago, just because it's so obvious in terms of keeping attention. The number one factor in keeping attention is, are they interested in this thing to begin with? So if they're not interested in the thing that you're talking about, then yeah, obviously you can't capture, you can't keep the attention. And so I felt like I had to say that. But let's just go on. You want to understand that when it comes to attention tends to loop. So there's short-term, there's long-term attention. What I mean by attention looping is people will start and stop. So they will watch a video or a podcast or whatever. They'll watch you. Then they won't for a while, for a couple weeks. Then they will. Then they won't. Then they will. And so short-term attention is more, you're watching a video or you're watching a live session. You're watching this thing. And short-term is, do I keep your attention long enough to watch the whole thing? That's short-term attention. Long-term attention is when you're thinking along the lines of a sales funnel or a sales pipeline. Do you keep their attention for days, months, years? Can you keep that attention that long? So you want to think in terms of both types of attention, keeping the attention short-term in terms of this video or this live, or long-term, long-term. If people aren't actually emailing you saying things like, I've been following you for a year and I'm ready to buy. If they're not doing that, then you're not really keeping people's attention long enough to actually get them to buy. That's the only purpose of content, to be honest. The purpose of content is literally keep people's attention long term. Otherwise, all you need is one sales video. I mean, if you could just do short term, it'll literally just be one sales video. You create one video, one podcast, one thing, and bam, you send all the traffic to it, all the ads, and bam, you just generate $1 billion in sales. I wish it were that easy. But if it were short term, that's all you had to do. That's actually how a lot of my friends do 7 figures a month, to be honest. They just do the short term attention. Of course, they have long term in terms of the people, once they buy, they're working with the people who buy, but they're thinking in terms of short term attention. It's why you see people who make 7 figures a month and you've never heard about them. Like you don't see any content, you don't see any podcasts, none of that. You've never heard about them, but they're still doing 7 figures a month because they focused on the short term attention. How do we create one video, one webinar, one podcast, one email, one thing that's going to generate all the sales? It's going to make the offer and generate all the sales. They focus on the short-term attention. Whereas if you want to build your authority, you want to be the expert in everything, you build the long-term attention along with the short-term attention. So you're thinking about both. And so that's essentially what you want to think about. Honestly, if your sales funnel, like if you're creating a sales funnel, you're doing stuff online and it's not converting, it's just because you don't have people's attention long enough. So they enter their name and email into an opt-in form. They're ready. They're ready, good to go. And then all of a sudden they read one email and that's it. They're done. They don't read any of your other emails. They don't watch any of your other videos. They're done. And so that's why people have a hard time converting, because they can't keep that attention. They captured it initially with a single video, a single podcast, or an email, whatever it is. They captured the attention, but they didn't keep that attention long enough. And so you have to make sure that you're keeping attention. Let's see. So Johnny said, for me to keep someone's attention, you have to use a trick many coaches use, which is getting the viewer to ask themselves internal questions that cannot be answered in a yes or no, but one that causes them to be engaged and one that keeps them attempting to answer the internal questions, which generally, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in terms of keeping the attention, that's like a storytelling technique. And I'll talk about this in a whole other video in terms of storytelling. Storytellers, if you look at the best movies, you'll see that the best movies don't just describe what's happening on the outside of the character, like the character's whooping ass or something. They also describe the internal feelings that character has. Like he's conflicted. Like the movie, I don't want to ruin the movie for you if you haven't seen it, but imagine a movie where a father has to choose between his wife dying or his daughter dying. Like he literally has to choose, right? So it's easy to make a choice in terms of killing the bad guy or killing your daughter. It's like, well, obviously I'm gonna kill the bad guy. But if you have to make a choice between killing your daughter and killing your wife, you're like, dang. And so you're conflicted. And so the movies that show that conflict, that internal conflict, those are the best movies. And so, I just kind of went off topic, but yeah, in terms of having people go internal, that is a huge thing in terms of keeping attention. But I also want to talk about the things that aren't really tactics or techniques, but things that you have to pay attention to really, really closely if you want to keep people's attention. And it's basically context. Context influences attention more than we would like to admit. See, a lot of people think that attention is just about a tactic or a technique, or if you're a great speaker, you'll naturally have people's attention 24/7. That's not how it works. It comes down to context. Context, environment, what's around a thing influences the thing more than we would like to admit. And what I mean by context is in terms of what are the natural distractions that people have before they actually see you present anything, whether it's in a video, podcast, what are the natural distractions people have? If you look at street performers, like if you're out here in Vegas or everywhere else, you see all the street performers, right? They have the hardest freaking job ever. They have to gather a crowd. People are walking by, especially in Vegas. There's a huge amount of people just walking by every single day. They have to figure out, how do I get people to stop in their tracks to see something that they don't even know if it's good or not? How do I get them to stop in their tracks and to keep watching? That's the hardest part. They can easily get people to stop, but how do you get people to keep watching? And so people have all sorts of distractions. There's, freaking all sorts of distractions in Vegas. And so you have to pay attention to those natural distractions that people have before you actually keep their attention. Little things like here, you're watching at home, listening at home, whatever it is. Maybe some of you are freaking cooking while you're watching, listening to this. This is honestly the worst way to keep someone's attention. Doing a live session like this. Actually, no, not live. Let's say this weren't live. So if this weren't live, then it would be the worst way. This is the second worst way to keep someone's attention. I call it a talking head, where all you see is a beautiful face. Me, beautiful face and me, same thing. All you see is a beautiful face. You see just me, literally. And then you just see, I'm here at home, right? So all you see is just me. It is hands down the hardest way to keep people's attention because the context is all wrong. Nothing's really happening other than me talking, a talking head. That's what I call it. This is why when you see interviews with people, interviews naturally keep people's attention longer despite an interview not giving more information. In fact, it does the opposite. It rarely gives more information just because the interview, they're talking over each other or whatever, right? Interviews rarely give the best information. And so But for some reason that people actually pay attention to them because there's two people there. There's two people. It's kind of unpredictable. The conversation, it's unpredictable. And so interviews are a lot better than the talking head. And so you're paying attention to the context around a thing. A live speech, it's better than video because a live speech, people are sitting down. I mean, of course they can pull out their phones if they want, but there's like that rudeness when you pull out your phone, someone's on stage and then the people around you are like, right? So there's like that rudeness going on. So the context of a live speech, you don't have to be more engaging with the live speech because you naturally have people's attention. The same goes with if I'm just talking to you. So like a lot of people have said to me, like, all right, Benji, when you're doing a video, I mean, you're like freaking all over the place. And then all of a sudden in person, I do the exact opposite. I'm like calm as all hell. I'm just like, what's up? And that's how I am in person, right? And the reason is because in person, I don't have to keep your attention the same way. If I were to literally do the same thing, let's say I were to do this, right? Let's say I were to go from what I was just doing to, all right, so the next thing is podcast. I mean, if you obviously have a podcast, then people are just going to be doing all sorts of things. They'll be driving as they're doing a podcast. That's not going to keep your attention. And so it's you have to think in terms of the context around the attention, the context around what you're doing. With the podcast, people are obviously driving, maybe they're working out, and so you got to think more along those lines in terms of the context around what it is you're doing. They did this experiment with a matchbox. So it was a matchbox. There were matches in it, and then they had thumbtacks. They gave people thumbtacks, and then they gave people a candle. So there's like a candle, there's a matchbox. Let's say, imagine this is a matchbox. So they got the matchbox with the matches in it. They got the candle, and they got thumbtacks, right? And they said to them, okay, we want you to take this candle, pin it up against the wall using whatever you can with the items we gave you. We want you to figure out how can you pin this up against the wall. And so what happened was people were trying to take the candle. They would take the matches out of the matchbox and they maybe like burn the candle a little bit and try to stick it to the wall. And they would try all sorts of different ways. Maybe they take a thumbtack and they try to pin it into the candle and try to pin that into the wall. So they tried all kinds of ways. Then what they did is they took the same items. So they had the candle, the matchbox with the matches, the thumbtacks. They had the same items, but they presented it differently. Instead of having the matches in the matchbox and all the items in the matchbox, they took all the items out. So there was just the matchbox, there was the matches, there was the thumbtacks, and then there was the candles. And people figured it out a lot easier when they separated all the items. They changed the context. And the solution, by the way, is you simply just take the empty matchbox, you put the candle in there, and then you stick the thumbtacks in, and it holds the matchbox. And that was the solution, right? But what they did is they realized that, hey, if we change how we frame a problem, if we change how we frame it, it changes how people think about that thing. And so the same goes with keeping attention. If you understand the context around it, then everything inside of it becomes easier. And so that's how you want to think about attention. You first pay attention to the context that people, or just the context of what it is you're doing. So it's like I was having a conversation with a friend in terms of saying, videos like this, where it's just the live, or videos where it's a professional made video where it looks cool and there's cool transitions and everything, those videos don't do as well as a video where you're just holding your phone and you're just actually talking through your phone, right? The reason is because of the context around it. The context around a professionally made video. Like, I mean, it's just a live video, but imagine this was like all bells and whistles and transitions and everything, right? And words are popping up and it looks cool as all hell. It doesn't create a Me Too vibe. It's not personal. And so it separates me, aka the video, from you. Whereas if I'm filming with the phone, it's more personal and it's like we're one and the same. And so it has this heartfelt home vibe to it as I'm filming with the phone. So you think about context first when it comes to grabbing and keeping people's attention. So that's the biggest thing. Little things like who is speaking. This is one of the reasons why you can see celebrities who will speak to a group of people. They will naturally have people's attention despite what they say. Doesn't matter what they say. They will naturally have people's attention because of who they are. That's what I mean by context. It's who a person is and things around it that actually determines whether or not you're going to keep someone's attention. If you're an unknown, then you got to use all these tactics and techniques to keep people's attention if you're an unknown. But something as simple as, let's say, like, all right, I'm a mentalist, so I'm doing a show. If I were to walk up to people, if I'm doing a show or even just walking up to people, I start performing. And then I say to you, give me your wallet. You will give me your wallet because the context around it is I'm a mentalist, I'm an entertainer, I'm going to show you something really cool with your wallet. On the other hand, if I just walk up to you and I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Give me your wallet. At that point, you're going to be like, is this dude robbing me? And so the context, even though I said the exact same thing, the context around it is different, which changes everything. That's how you need to first think about keeping attention. You can have all the tactics and techniques that you want, but if you don't pay attention to the context, you simply will not keep people's attention. Like I said, these are the worst ways to keep people's attention is by doing a live like this. Just sitting down, doing a live, that's it. It's hands down the worst way to keep people's attention. But you can still do it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with still doing it. And naturally, in terms of keeping people's attention, I don't want to talk about the godfather of attention just yet. So let's do this. In terms of keeping people's attention, someone who's really good at this is Elon Musk. Elon Musk understands that when you keep people's attention, what you have to do is you paint a picture of the future that they can have. Paint a picture of what's about to happen, the vision. I call it the buyer's vision, where you have your own vision about what you want to accomplish, the goals and all. You have your own vision. But when you create a buyer's vision, you're creating a vision for them. It's something that they need to move towards or something that they can see where they kind of get excited about it. So I was watching a video yesterday and Elon Musk, he said, we're going to summon our cars with our phones, right? So we'll just and he said we'll be able to do it like across the continent and stuff, right? So he's creating this vision. He's like, oh, eventually we're going to get to a point where nobody's going to be driving. Like driving is going to be illegal because all the cars are going to be electric. They're all going to be automatic. And so they're all going to talk to each other. There will be no accidents. He's creating a vision. And by creating this vision for people, it naturally makes them pay attention, naturally keeps that attention. Words that are painting the picture of the future will keep people's attention. And so if you look at all the great speakers, you'll notice they all do this. Every single one of them does this. They all say like, oh, and basically imagine this, imagine that. What if this? What if that? And so words like what if or imagine, those words, if you keep using those words, people will naturally pay attention because you're creating a picture of the future that they want to have or a future that they just think would be cool. They may not have thought about it, but they're thinking like, oh man, that'd be cool. Like, oh yeah, if I could just press a button on my phone and poof, a car just comes. Oh man, that'd be cool as all hell, right? So they're thinking about this inside of their head. It's a picture that you're creating. It's like, well, what if you woke up one day and you were able to press a button on your phone and then it made coffee? Or what if you woke up one day and you didn't even need to press a button on your phone? Something in your house, it detects when your eyes open and then poof, the coffee maker automatically starts making you coffee, right? And so you're thinking, what if, or imagine if, and you start going into this imagine thing. One of the things I learned from a copywriter is he said, you want to remove the what if, remove the imagine, remove all that, and just create a picture as if they're already there. And so he was saying, I thought that was actually really great, where he said, instead of saying, imagine one day if you were to wake up and then all of a sudden coffee is just instantly made for you. And he said, just remove the what if. He says, you wake up and coffee is just instantly made for you. Your room just automatically knows everything. It knows when you wake up and it's coffee is just instant, right? And so I thought that was really great because he kept saying that you want to paint a picture of where they're going to be. And by doing that, they're going to sit there. It's going to use the visual cortex, all that sort of stuff. It's going to use their brains. They're going to imagine actually using the product. They're going to imagine the thing that you're selling. And so that's the first thing. And obviously making things inspirational. Hands down, this is the worst way to keep people's attention, what I'm doing now. When you just give advice, like one, this is a live, or this is the second worst way. If this wasn't live, it would be the worst. Imagine this isn't live, right? This is the second worst way. So if you just see a talking head, and right now all I'm doing is giving information. That's all I'm doing, giving information. It is the worst way to keep people's attention. On the other hand, if I made it inspirational, then I will keep people's attention. If I painted a picture of the future that you want, and I made it inspirational at the same time, I will keep your attention for as long as I want. But right now, like I said, this is hands down the worst way to do it. The best content, if you look at your best content and even my best content, it is always the most inspirational ones. It's every single time that people comment on my content, it is either insanely detailed about a specific topic, or 99% of the time it is inspirational, right? And so the most inspirational content, it just makes people feel better, because remember, people forget what you say. They always remember how you made them feel. So the inspirational content is what people truly love, despite saying they want more detail. People will always say, no, I like the detailed stuff. Then when you give the detailed stuff, they don't pay attention. The reason they don't pay attention is because they're not invested yet. People have to be invested in order to pay attention to detail. That's how you have to think, right? And so you got to think in terms of detail requires upfront commitment. If you're going to go into detail about something, people have to pay for it. I'm telling you that I know this without a doubt. You cannot go into detail without upfront commitment. If people are not committed, they will not pay attention, despite what they think and what they say. I can go into so much detail right now over a CRM and all this stuff, and people's eyes will glaze over despite people saying, I want to learn about how you do that and all that. It will glaze over. It's just natural to the brain, because you got to think from an entertainment standpoint. Why do people watch entertainment? Why do we go on YouTube, on Instagram and watch cat videos and all this stuff? Why do we watch entertainment instead of watching something that will actually alter the course of our lives? The reason is because of what it does to your brain. So entertainment, it eases the burden on your brain, the tension on your brain, the stress on your brain. It eases that. Whereas detail does the exact opposite. It forces you to focus. It forces you to strain your brain in order to learn. That's required. And so in order to get people to that level, there needs to be an upfront commitment. This is why college, people who say that college needs to be free, it already is. It's called a library. It's called Amazon Kindle. It's called books. It already is free. Everything you can learn in college, you can learn online. Every single thing. The reason people don't study is because it is free. They haven't committed. There is no upfront commitment to it. It is one of the reasons why you keep hearing gurus say, no, you got to pay for the program and all sort of stuff, because it is true. If you do not, you will not commit. And so if you're going to go into detail about something, you need that commitment up front. And so I mentioned this earlier in terms of the entertainment factor. Whenever you're actually presenting, you always got to think in terms of the entertainment factor, no matter what it is you're doing. If you're giving information, the more information you give, the more entertaining it has to be. This is why I kept saying that the inspirational aspect, inspirational stuff is always the best stuff. But you have to think in terms of the more information you give, the more entertaining you have to be. You got to combine the two, otherwise people won't pay attention. I still don't want to talk about the godfather of attention just yet, but it is hands down the godfather of attention, okay? This is, in terms of keeping attention, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay? If you don't know who he is, just look him up. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a science guy. He is brilliant at doing this. He's brilliant at taking the complicated and making it simple. He will take anything in physics and all the terms in physics, and he will make it sound so simple that anyone can understand it. If you want to keep people's attention, you have to think along the lines of the detail. The more detail you go into, the more lingo you go into, the less you're going to keep people's attention. So the more simple you make it, the easier it is to keep people's attention. That's what Neil deGrasse Tyson is brilliant at, like hands down brilliant at. What he basically does, he can sum anything up into like a sentence or two. And he can just say, all right, quantum physics, the way it works is this, right? And so he just sums it all up just really easily. And I was reading an article about how he does this. And he says, I don't really pay attention to what I want to say. I pay attention to what the audience wants. And that's what he was doing. He said, I pay attention to what the audience wants. And you can tell he literally, it's 100% focus on the audience. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do what he does. He changes how he presents based on who he's talking to. And that's how you have to think when you're actually presenting information. If you're a scientist talking to another scientist, you're going to use the same lingo they're using. If you're a scientist talking to a layman, you're not going to use all that lingo, right? So that's what he does. He pays attention to who he's talking to. And then on top of that, if he's a scientist talking to Republicans, he's going to say it very differently than if he's talking to Democrats. So he pays attention really, really close to who he's talking to. He makes the complicated simple. That's how you do it if you want to actually keep people's attention. And then there's the unpredictable factor. Being unpredictable naturally keeps people's attention. And this is something that entertainers really, really mastered. Like magicians, mentalists, illusionists, they really, really master this. Actually, pickpockets master this. This is something that I learned as an entertainer. Like when I was just being an illusionist in general, here's the concept, right? So the concept is, let's say there's an object over here. If I take my hand, here's how misdirection works, right? If I take my hand and I just go straight for this, let's move it all the way over here. If I just go straight for this thing, then you will naturally pay attention to my other hand over here, just because I'm just going straight to this. It's a straight line to this object to grab it, which means that your mind about here, it knows where my hand is going. It knows my hand is going over here. So it doesn't need to pay attention to my hand anymore. So what it does, it'll look over here to start looking at other places for any type of movement. This is how magicians get caught, when all of a sudden they go like this and then all of a sudden, bam, because they went in a straight line, right? On the other hand, if my hand goes like this, so if I do an arc in any type of way, your brain doesn't know where my hand is going. So my hand is going like this. Your brain has no idea where my hand is going. And because of that, you pay attention all the way to the end. And so I can do whatever I want over here because I'm sitting there moving my hand over here in every which way. Your brain can't predict where my hand is going. So I keep your attention over here while I'm doing something over here. Pickpockets have mastered this, absolutely mastered this process in terms of understanding where your eyes are going, how to manipulate you just by being unpredictable. Entertainers in general are really good at this in terms of being unpredictable. One of the things that I would do all the time to keep people's attention as an entertainer, as a mentalist, is I would borrow objects. This is what you'll see street performers do a lot of the times, because a street performer, if you're sitting there, you have an object, you're going to do some cool magic trick with a water bottle, right? Sure, people may or may not pay attention. On the other hand, if I say, hey, sir, let me borrow your wallet. At that point, the audience is like, oh, what is he going to do with the wallet? Because it is someone else's object, people will pay attention to it because they're wondering what's going to happen to it and is he going to get it back? And that's what will keep people's attention, just by borrowing an object. So you're using little tricks, little techniques like that. Those are techniques that I would use as an entertainer. I could easily use my own watch for a trick, but I would naturally borrow somebody else's watch because they would think like, oh my goodness, is he going to break it or what? So all this stuff is going on. They will keep their attention on me 24/7 because I have their watch, and other people will keep their attention on me because they're wondering, what am I going to do with the watch? Is it going to break or what? Right? Versus if I use my own, it's not really, doesn't really matter, right? And so now this doesn't just apply to entertainers, right? This applies to everybody who wants to keep people's attention. And what I mean by that is being unpredictable means if you're creating momentum and movement, you are unpredictable. What I mean by that is, let's say you're filming videos. Like I said, this is the worst way to do it, the way I'm doing it now. If, on the other hand, if I were to film videos where I'm moving, going around Vegas all the time, and you see me around Vegas and everything, even if I'm holding a phone or a professional made video, but if I'm actually moving, like you see the momentum and everything, then it will keep your attention longer just because there's that movement going on. In storytelling, there's two things they say that a character needs in order to be a likable character, in order for people to pay attention to that character. It's active and resourcefulness. The character has to be active and they have to be resourceful. If you look at so like one of the things I do all the time is I look at all the gurus, I look at how they present, and I look at why do they like naturally have better followers or like more fanatic fans than this person, even though this person gives way, way better information than this person. How is it that this person has more followers and everything like that, right? And so I was looking at this, and you'll notice it does come down to the momentum and the movement, the activeness and resourcefulness. There's this guy, very well known. If I were to say his name, you probably know who he is. If I were to say his name, he has great content. I mean, every time I watch one of his videos, I'm like, this dude, he knows his stuff, right? Then there's the guys where they have great content, but it's not as detailed as this guy, right? And so these guys, on the other hand, they have way more followers, way more fanatic fans and all that sort of stuff. And the reason is because you see these guys moving. These guys are in airports all the time. You see them in their business, and you see them walking around, the video guys showing the business. You see all the workers and everything. Whereas this guy, he's just sitting there. It's like a talking head. Sure, he has a nice studio and everything, but it's more of a talking head. And so when you start thinking about little things like that, you will naturally keep people's attention just by being unpredictable. This is why stories, everyone loves stories, because stories are unpredictable. You're sitting there, you're telling a story, people don't know where it's going. It's naturally unpredictable. And I'm going to do a whole other video on storytelling. But storytelling, it's one of those where it just keeps people's attention no matter what. When it comes to keeping attention, you want to think along lines of suspense, not surprise. And I saw a video with Hitchcock, right? So Hitchcock, he was talking about the difference between surprise and suspense. He was like, basically, surprise is you have two characters sitting in a cafe and then a bomb goes off. Like, whoa, what? Versus suspense. You have two characters sitting in a cafe. There's a bomb underneath the chair and the camera shows the bomb. And now it shows the timer, 30 seconds, 29, 28. That's suspense. So you're giving the audience information in order to create suspense. And so you want to think more along the lines of suspense, not surprise. Surprise captures attention, then the attention's done. Suspense, it keeps people's attention. So if you're creating, like, let's say email content, right? You're creating an email sequence. You say, all right, so-and-so wants to lose weight. So-and-so is 300 pounds. We're going to help them lose weight. First thing we got to do is we're going to change their diet. And then all of a sudden you show that in the first video. You're like, all right, in the next video, we're going to show you how we took this person from 300 pounds to 190 pounds, or whatever, right? And so you're using the suspense by kind of showing them what's about to happen. You're giving them information. That's how you use suspense. Now let's talk about the godfather of attention. This is, without a doubt, the godfather of attention. It can be summed up in one word. You already know what it is. You already know. In fact, let me see if anyone can guess the thing before I actually talk about it. It's something that I've used in emails. It's something that you want to use 24/7 whenever you're actually trying to keep people's attention. So if anyone can guess it, I'll wait for a few seconds. But this is hands down the number one thing in terms of keeping people's attention. If you look at anyone who's a master at presentation, you'll see they always, always, always do this. No matter what it is they're doing, it will naturally capture attention. And then if you keep doing it, it will keep that attention. And then obviously when you keep the attention, from there, it's a matter of actually converting it into a sale. Let's see, Johnny said teasers. All right, anybody else with another guess in terms of keeping that attention? It is, without a doubt, the godfather of attention. Suspense, said Dennis. Okay. Anyone else? In terms of keeping the attention? It's really just one word. And you guys are pretty much close. Ask a question. Scarcity. Okay. Any other guesses before I reveal it in just a second? In fact, here, I'll read this. This is an email I sent 2 days ago, I think. So this is an email. This is just the beginning of the email. Let me see if you can guess it based on this. So the beginning of the email said, if I had to pick one thing that changed the course of my entire business, it would be what we're going to talk about on today's Facebook Live session, 9 a.m. Pacific time. All right. So that's a little hint right there. All right. So I say nudity. All right, Barry, you're right. No, I'm just kidding. Barry, you're absolutely wrong, but it will keep people's attention. All right. Purple. That's close. No. So what keeps people's attention is summed up in one word is curiosity, right? So what I just said in the email, so the email actually said this. It said, if I had to pick one thing that changed the course of my entire business, it would be what we're going to talk about in today's Facebook Live. I could have said, instead of saying that, I could have said, the one thing that changed my life was scheduling my day. That is what we're going to talk about on today's Facebook Live. If I said that, it wouldn't have captured attention, would have kept attention, nothing. I literally took what would have been curious and put it inside and gave you the answer. By doing that, you don't actually capture and keep attention. Curiosity, it not only captures and keeps attention, it gets people to take action. So when I say, if I had to pick one thing that changed the entire course of my life in business, it is the one thing that we're going to talk about on the Facebook Live. If I said that, you're going to be like, what is that? All right, let's actually watch this thing, right? So if I were to do that, it actually gets you to take action. On the other hand, if I said the one thing that changed my life was scheduling my days, at that point, there's no need for you to take action. There's no need for you to pay attention anymore because I gave you everything in that one sentence. So curiosity is essentially what you leave out. It's what you take out. So what you do in terms of curiosity, if you're actually writing an email or if you're creating video content, whatever it is, you think in terms of what do I actually want to say? So like scheduling my day is the number one thing that changed my life. Okay. That's what I want to say. Now I take that out. I take out scheduling my day, all right? And I replace it with this thing is the one thing that changed the course of my entire life, all right? That's what you're doing with curiosity. Curiosity, it really allows you to pace and lead people. This is why hypnotists are great at just persuasion in general, because hypnotists understand pacing and leading. Pacing and leading is basically here's where you are, and then here's where you need to be. Right? So it's like, here's where you are, here's where you're going to go. That's what you're doing with pacing and leading. You're describing where they are, and then you're leading them to the promised land. You're leading them to where they want to go. And when you use curiosity with pacing and leading, bam, you have their attention, you kept the attention, and you will convert that attention into freaking action. So like, for example, in the email the other day, I just sent this out, right? So I just sent out all throughout high school and college, I was trying to figure out how to get on more stages. The common advice was create a bio or referrals, and that didn't help at all. I had a bio, now what? Referrals, well, they weren't enough. So now what? This is where I'm pacing. I'm pacing everybody in terms of the speakers. It's like, all right, you're a speaker. You've heard about create a bio. You've heard about create a one sheet, create a bio. You've heard about, get gigs through referrals, right? I'm pacing you in terms of here's where you are. Then I'm leading you with the rest of it. So I say, all right, I learned about cold calling, cold emailing, but for some reason I couldn't get myself to do it. I'm still pacing at this point. And so then I lead you in terms of taking the action, right? So the action is really just watch the live session. You can pace for a long time and then you just do one simple call to action. That's kind of where you lead them. And so curiosity, it naturally creates curiosity. People are like, what the hell? What is he talking about? Right? It naturally creates that curiosity. At that point, you're pacing them in terms of here's where you are. And the best version of here's where you are it's when you talk about what's happening internally. So remember earlier I talked about the characters where there's the internal and external that's going on. The best pacing happens internally where it's like, look, all right, I've been trying to create a podcast for years and it wasn't working. I damn near gave up. I was literally crying. I couldn't figure out how to get this thing to work. I felt like a failure. And it's like you're talking about your feelings. That's the best type of pacing. The best type of pacing, you're talking about your feelings and then you lead them. You're like, all right, I felt like a failure, but one day, I just figured it out. Like one day I woke up, I said, look, man, you got to get this, you got to get your shiznit right. And so at that point, you lead them to where you want to go. Curiosity allows you to do that naturally. Curiosity, it is the godfather of persuasion. It hands down the godfather of persuasion in general, because all you're doing is you're simply saying, here's what I want to say. Let me take that out for now and let me replace it to create that curiosity. Remember, it's like, the one thing I'm going to talk about, the one thing that's going to change my life versus saying scheduling my day is the one thing that changed my life, right? You simply just take out. That's how you create curiosity. Now, when it comes to keeping attention, you have all these tactics, techniques, curiosity, all that sort of stuff, but still it comes down to your personality as well. Your personality, I keep talking about this all the time. This is why the term TV personality was created, because when you are presenting, when you're trying to keep people's attention, you have to show your personality. And for some reason, when people are filming a video, they get all professional like. They change. It's a weird shift. It's really weird. But people change in a video to where they're not relaxed or nothing. They're just like, all right, today we're going to talk about keeping people's attention. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about converting the attention. And so it's like you see them, they get all professional like, and by doing that, they're not showing their personality. It's like they're hiding their personality. This is why I keep saying the whole thing of being professional. Being professional equals boring. When you're professional in your videos, what people think is that they're all stiff and all that. Look at news anchors, right? Look at almost every news anchor. Every news anchor has damn near the same personality as a news anchor. It's like the TV news anchor personality. Every single one of them, with the exception of the ones who get paid a lot. The ones who get paid a lot, you can see their personality, like the Nancy Grace, Megyn Kelly, I don't know, the other ones, who is it? That guy who has like the money show with the stocks. He's like a bald head or something. Glenn Beck, maybe? I don't know. But basically, they all have that personality that shows through. That's why they get paid. Then you look at all the local news anchors. They all look and sound the same. Every single one of them. They all look and sound the same. They don't have that personality that shows through. And so you want to simply think about the personality. Even when it comes to, let's say, writing emails, writing content and everything, you show the personality inside of it. So like today, actually, like today's email, in case you guys didn't read it, I'll read it. I won't read the whole thing. I'll read the beginning part and the end part. I said, yesterday we talked about how to grab people's attention by the balls. And today we're going to talk about how to hold it. Their attention, not the other part. All right. So obviously, you guys know what I was hinting at, right? Then at the end of the email, I said, you don't just grab people's attention by the balls. You have to learn how to get as much out of that attention as possible. You have to learn how to squeeze it. Their attention, not the other part. And so that's what I wrote inside of today's email, right? That is naturally my personality. I literally wrote that and laughed. Some of the emails I will write, them and I will literally laugh because I find it funny. And because I find it funny, I'm like, I'm going to send this out. I'm demonstrating my personality in everything that I do. This is why I say, like, when you think in terms of presentation, when you think in terms of keeping people's attention, think about how are you around friends. Do the same thing when you're in a video, in a podcast and all that. What people tend to do is the exact opposite. They're around friends and they're doing things, saying things in a certain way around friends. Then when they go into a video or a podcast or whatever, they all of a sudden remove all the aspects of them that make them a personality. They remove all that and then they just start talking about content. You need to keep that in there and even exaggerate it if you need to. That is why your friends are your friends, because of the personality aspect. And the same goes with the video, the podcast. People will like you because of that personality aspect. If they don't, forget them. I mean, who cares, right? It's one of those things where no matter what you do, some people are going to like you, some are going to hate you. Doesn't matter what you do. You can sit there, you can be sarcastic. People are going to love you. The smart people love sarcasm, right? And then all of a sudden, if you're not sarcastic, still people are going to love you, or people are going to love and hate you no matter what you do. So you might as well just do what you do around friends. Sometimes you got to tone stuff down. Like I do tone stuff down in these videos compared to what I do around friends. And I'll give you an example. All right. I'll give you an example because the other day was Christmas, right? So one of my friends, Brandon, really religious guy, right? And so I make fun of, like we have this thing going back and forth where I basically say I'm God, right? And so this is something I would never say in a video, with the exception of right now. But I basically do this back and forth. I make God jokes all the time. So I sent him a present. In the present, the note said this. It said, all right, you're a great friend. Thank you for celebrating my son's birthday. You get that? Christmas, right? Christmas, Jesus' birthday, right? So I make jokes like that to friends, religious friends, because I find it funny as hell. And of course, I mean, he finds it funny too, but little things like that, I tone that down for the videos. I don't say things like that. Or for example, or no, I can't remember what I said to the friend off the top of my memory, but I say things like that around friends all the time, which is why I say things like that in the video and inside of the emails. And so you simply want to think about how are you around friends? That's the personality you need to show in a video, in the content. That's how you're going to keep people's attention. There's a, I put in here, there's a street performer, this name, I don't want to talk about that. All right. So, ultimately, in terms of keeping people's attention, you're going to keep people's attention through consistency. That's the only way you're going to keep attention in the long term, is just by being consistent with it. Is the only way you're going to get better at it in terms of presenting in general. Understand that not all attention is good attention, but almost all attention can be converted into good attention. And when I say not all attention is good attention, what I mean is attention that loses people's trust. That is the attention that you don't want to get. Clickbait is the perfect example of losing people's trust. If you create headlines that are clickbait headlines, people will click on it. You will grab their attention, but you will not keep that attention and you will not convert that attention because you lost their trust. You can do it one time, but if you keep doing it, you will lose their trust. They will no longer follow you again because they just won't trust you at that point. They'll think to themselves, well, if this idiot keeps posting these clickbait videos and clickbait content, then I'm not going to pay for his stuff because his stuff is probably clickbait too. And so that's how you want to think in terms of attention. If you're putting out clickbait, you are losing trust. You're not, sure, you're going to get a lot of likes, a lot of whatever clicks, but you will lose trust and you will lose revenue. So you do not put out clickbait. You do not create that type of attention. That is hands down bad attention no matter what. It will not keep people's attention. And then ultimately, what you want to do in terms of keeping attention is remind people of why they need to pay attention. This is something I actually didn't even do right now. But you want to remind people of why they need to pay attention. Like, you're going to generate more sales, or you're going to get more coaching clients, or as a realtor, you're going to get more buyers and sellers, right? So you're like, if you do what I'm about to tell you, you're going to get more buyers and sellers. Or if I'm talking to a fitness trainer, if you do what I'm going to tell you, you're going to get more fitness clients, right? So you remind them of why they need to keep paying attention and why it matters to them. People, for some reason, cannot take the extra leap themselves in terms of why this information matters to them. They just can't. People just don't see it. It is hands down weird. Even though they only need one step, they can't see why it matters to them or how to use this information in their business. It's like I was talking with this girl, and basically this person was going to work for her for free. And she's like, well, I mean, I don't really need a worker because, I'm doing it all myself. I'm like, whoa. I mean, the person's like working for you for free, just trying to grow their business, just helping you out with all the content, trying to grow their business, working for you for free. And you don't want it because you're doing it yourself? Like, I would love to have everybody working for me for free. What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, but I mean, I do it myself, right? And so that was one of the things where it's like she couldn't see it. She couldn't take that extra step for some reason. I don't know what it was. Because I just stopped arguing with her. I'm just like, all right, can't argue with stupid. So it's one of those things where when you actually, to keep people's attention, you have to keep reminding them of why they need to actually pay attention to you. You need to keep reminding them of that. And you need to make the leaps for them because they just can't see it. So it's like when I was actually presenting as an entertainer, right? And I was just doing restaurant magic. I was just doing walk around and all that. I had a stage show. I was doing a stage show. But my website, it had mostly walk around stuff. So like cocktails, you can hire me for cocktails. And people all the time would say, oh, can you do like a stage show? We want to hire you. There's like 500 people at the event. Can you even do that? And I'm like, yeah, man, of course I can do that. Damn it, right? And so I'm getting all pissed. And so what I had to do is I had to make the leap for them by putting more of that on the website and everything. I had to make that leap for them. So it wasn't just hire an entertainer. It was more of making the leap for them. That's what you have to do with your content. You got to make that leap for them. Like you can use this in podcasts. You can use this in a video. If you keep people's attention, you'll generate more sales. You got to make those leaps for other people. And this is why I keep talking about the best copywriting advice I ever heard of is answering so what. Whenever you say something, you think, so what? Or you think that they're saying to you, so what? So you say, you have to learn how to grab, keep, and convert people's attention. And then I imagine someone saying, so what? Grab attention, keep attention, so what? It's like, you got to learn how to grab, keep, and convert attention so you can generate more sales in your business. You can actually make more money when eyeballs are on your product. If you can actually keep those eyeballs on your product, you will make more money because if people aren't paying attention to you and your product, they won't buy from you. They won't know you exist. And so you have to keep thinking, so what, so what, so what? You have to keep reminding people why they need to pay attention, create that buyer's vision. Remember what I talked about with Elon Musk, where he creates that vision, create the buyer's vision of how they're going to use it, why it's important to them. When you do that, you keep people's attention long enough to convert the attention, which is what we're going to talk about tomorrow in terms of converting the attention. So let's see if there were any questions here that I missed or anything. So we got that. All right, so let's see. You say there are various tools you can use. See where viewers are leaving the video. Yep. Okay. So you say, so Johnny was saying there are various tools that you can use to see like where people are leaving and stuff like that. Honestly, I just look at the regular tools that Facebook and YouTube provides. I don't have anything extra because I think long term. So remember in the beginning of this video, I said there's short term attention and there's long term attention. Short term attention is a single video, so like a live video or live Instagram, whatever, or just one video or one podcast. All right. Do you keep people's attention for the entire hour or for 10 minutes or for 30? How long do you keep that attention? Then there's the long-term attention. Did you keep their attention for an entire year? Do you have people coming back to you saying, oh man, I mean, I've been following you for a year. Now I'm ready to buy your product, right? That's what I pay attention to. I pay attention to the long-term attention. So sure, I'm kind of looking every now and again at the attention in terms of a single video and stuff, but I don't really pay attention to that. I pay attention to the long-term attention because I know that's where I'm going to win. And so nobody ever goes through your funnel, your pipeline or whatever, the way you think they're going to go through. What happens is they'll watch a video or two or read an email or two. Then they won't watch you for like a month or whatever, or watch you for a couple weeks. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy, that sexy looking beast in purple. Let me go watch that guy again. Right. And so then they'll do that. They'll watch again. Then all of a sudden again. And so it just happens over time. There are very few people who will naturally just watch you forever, like every day and all that. There are very few of those. Those are the best people that you want, obviously, but I think more in terms of the long-term attention. So let's see. You said engaging with the camera is hard, much harder than a live audience. How do you stay interested on a closed studio presentation? So this is one of the things in terms of, yeah, so it's hard as all hell to keep people's attention in a video versus live. And so you want to think along the lines of your energy gets communicated into the camera, right? So you get communicated into the camera. That's how you're keeping people's attention with the camera, right? With live, it's more the context that's keeping people's attention. Like people rarely just get up and walk around, whatever. When it comes to the videos, it's more of you. Are you energetic or whatever? It's more that personality that's keeping people's attention. That's what you have to pay attention to when it comes to the videos. So let's see. Alex said, Benji, you're very calm on the phone too. Yeah, I'm calm all the time. It's just a matter of like literally if I were to do the exact same in a video, people won't pay attention. And so once again, because I pay attention to the context of a situation. He said, I remember how excited I was as a kid to learn karate, and then I got bored with the same moves over and over again. Yep, exactly. So let's see, let's see anything else. He said, if you're too entertaining, won't people decide to not take you seriously, even though you know what you're talking about? Not at all. So it depends on what you say is too entertaining. So too entertaining is one of the things where entertaining just means you're keeping someone's attention. Someone who's like, let's say, going overboard and they're goofy as all hell, they're not keeping attention. They're losing attention. Like they're not keeping anyone's attention. People are looking at them and they're not relating to them in any way. They're just like, this dude's goofy. What the hell? This freaking idiot, right? And then they just leave. So that's not keeping people's attention. So there's no such thing as being too entertaining. Too entertaining means you kept their attention 24/7. That's what too entertaining means. But going overboard and then faking it, like, well, not faking it, but just, I call it being fake, to where it's like you created a character and the character is like too fake. It doesn't relate to people. And because it doesn't relate, that's when people stop paying attention. So there's no such thing as too entertaining. All right, so let's see. All right, so we got that. All right, let's see. Johnny said, people want to see how you tie a story. All right, cool. See, Barry said, Letterman broke the mold of TV weatherman, and look what happened. Yep. All right. Which day, if you are going to be talking about a New Year's resolutions, I'm not really sure if I'm going to talk about New Year's resolutions, to be honest, because in terms of New Year's resolutions, I think as an entrepreneur, you don't set New Year's resolutions. It's not like you wait until December 31st to set a New Year's resolution. You're doing it all the time. You're always setting your missions, your goals. You're doing it all the time. So maybe I'll talk about that next week, but there is no such thing for an entrepreneur as, let me just set a New Year's resolution. It's more of, I've been doing this my entire life. Like, I don't wait until the last second to do it. That's why people don't actually accomplish New Year's resolutions, because they wait until December 31st to actually set a goal. Whereas an entrepreneur, they're doing it all the time. It's like, okay, our goal for this period is to do this, and then our goal for this is to do that. So it's one of the reasons why I don't really talk about that. All right, cool. So we are good to go for today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about converting the attention. Converting the attention is what everything leads up to. It's you capture the attention, you grab that attention, you keep the attention, and then you have it in order to convert the attention into a sale. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I had to burp. All right. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.